called into 911. What are you reporting?
Yeah, I saw a Mack pickup, and he grabbed a little girl and he took off toward town with her. She hollered.
I had seen that little girl over there playing up and down there, and he run up behind her and grabbed her. He turned around and come right back to here where his truck was when the door was open and put her in the truck.
In 2025, everyone knows what Amber Alert means. Everyone should know. If you have a cell phone and you're in a group of people, it'll come across your phone. It'll come across everybody's phone within just a few seconds of each other. It's an unmistakable sound. So many people take this warning and just swipe it off their phone. They don't even look at it, they don't read it. But in that moment, somebody's life is being turned upside down. Amber Alert became famous because of a little girl that was sacrificed here in the Arlington area. So many children have been saved due to the loss of Amber Hagerman. She's going to be the topic of today's video. I'm going to show you some locations, tell you her story. Y'all stick around. So January the 13th, 1996 was an unusually warm day here in the Dallas area, specifically Arlington. And Donna Whitson, she was the mother of 9-year-old Amber Hagerman and 5-year-old Ricky Hagerman. She had gotten her kids together that day. Like I said, it was a warm, beautiful day. She had gotten them together that day, and they had went to a park. They had lunch, went to a park called Castle Park, over near where they were living at the time, I do believe. And following that, she had taken Amber and Ricky over to her parents' house. And they wanted to ride their bikes. You know, it was coming off of a little bit of a bad weather spot right there, and they weren't able to get out and do a whole lot. And the kids, doing like kids do, we were all the same way, right? You wanted to get out and go, be outside. Not like these kids today. 2025, you can't get them to go outside. We wanted to go out, and that's what Amber and Ricky wanted to do. So upon arriving at Donna's parents' house there, in the driveway, there stands Pawpaw, okay? Amber runs up and gives him a big hug, just like every little girl would do to their Pawpaw. She hops on the bike. Ricky hops on his bike. They leave the house and they go left from the house up towards Claudia Street. And Amber's mom, Donna, she makes sure she tells the kids, like all of our mama was do. This is so similar to our own lives, you know, and you really look at it. She says to Amber, she says, y'all be careful, stay together, don't go too far, and only go where you're allowed to go, which is just around the block and back. And when Donna hollered out to her, listen to what she had told her, stay safe, stay together, Amber turned around and looked at her and said, we will, Mama. And Donna says that's the last time she ever hears her baby's voice. So Ricky and Amber, they're on their bikes. They're cutting the loop around the neighborhood. They've cut so many times, just like we all had a path around our neighborhood we cut so many times. This was nothing special about today. There was things they had done a million times probably. Now they knew not to go off of their course and to one particular spot that really was calling them. There was a abandoned Winn-Dixie up on the corner, and it had a set of, like on the shipping dock, it had a ramp. And that was calling their name today. They wanted to go run down that ramp on the bikes. And upon getting there, after staying for a couple of minutes, Ricky was starting to get a weird feeling, and he wanted to go home. He told Amber, I'm coming back. I'm going back to the house. You need to come on too. Amber says, I'm going to be there in just a minute. You go on back. I'll be right behind you. So it's just a couple-minute ride back to the house. Upon arriving back at the house, Ricky sees Amber hasn't beat him back because there's a couple different ways you can go to get back to the house. And when he pulls up in the driveway, Pawpaw sees that Amber's not with him. And he says, "Where's Amber at?" And he said, "We were up at the ramps and she's still up there." He tosses Ricky in the truck and they take off up to the ramps to get little Amber. Now, upon getting back up to the Winn-Dixie with his Pawpaw, they find that Amber is not there, and that all that remains left is her little pink bicycle on the ground over near the base of the ramps. At that exact same time, thereabouts, within a minute or two, a phone call goes into the local police department.
Arlington 911, what are you reporting?
Yeah, I saw Max pick up and he grabbed the little girl and he took off toward town with her. And she hollered.
Now, that witness that called in, his name was Jimmy Kivel, and he was the only witness that ever came forward to saying he saw Amber be abducted. And he gave a pretty clear description of the guy. It was a non-African male, white or Hispanic, light-skinned, 20s, 30s. They ended up saying 40s possibly. And the guy had strength enough, he snatched her off the bike and just basically took off with her. They were into the truck and that was it, gone. Black pickup truck. Now, one thing Jimmy Kivel did mention is that he noticed when this man was driving off, he did not seem like he was in any kind of an erratic, alarmed state, even though what he had just done by snatching Amber up like that, he drove off really calm and in a fashion that no one would really take notice of what he had done. I do want to note, whenever he left that parking lot, he turned out, he did make a left there onto the main road there in front of the Winn-Dixie. A lot was made out of that during the investigations because of an escape route would have been much easier if he had took a right. There was a whole bunch of speculation on what it meant as to which way he went when he exited the parking lot. Now, as the first officer pulls into the parking lot from the phone call from Mr. Jimmy Kivel, the officer responding finds Mr. Jimmy Whitson, which was Pawpaw. That's the one I keep talking about. His actual name is Jimmy Whitson. And whenever the officer showed up, he was there telling the same story about his granddaughter come up missing. And it was at that time that the officer knew, we got a major problem. Something bad's going on here. And he radios it in. So it's at this time Jimmy Whitson and little Ricky go back to the house, and they are without Amber. And Donna, Amber's mother, comes out, and they tell her that she'd been taken. And they said she went to screaming, hollering. You could imagine. She knew there was a good chance they'd probably never see her baby again. Screaming so loud that the neighbors were coming out into the yard, asking what was going on. This woman was in a full-fledged panic, as she should have been. The next thing she did at that moment was she immediately called Amber's father. And the voicemails were saved. And I'm going to tell you, it's some of the worst things you can hear. And it's this kind of stuff. It's a true crime guy that just makes your skin curl. When you do these, some of them hit a little harder than other ones.
Richard, if you're there, please come to Mama. Somebody kidnapped Amber. Please, Richard. Somebody kidnapped Amber. She's gone.
I don't mean to cut this video short, but I know when they get too long, sometimes y'all don't want to watch them. So I'm just going to kind of jump to there's not a lot that really happens. A lot of people were considered and looked into and investigated pretty hard for this crime. And I'm just going to let you know that 4 days later, Amber Hagerman's body was found only 4 miles away behind Forest Hills Apartments in North Arlington. And I drove that earlier. 4 miles seems like a long ways. But when you consider the pain and the anguish and all that happened to that little girl, Some of these things are hard to talk about. Y'all ain't finna get me crying on this camera. But Amber's body was found in a creek behind the apartments without clothes. I have to watch my words here. My videos will get hit pretty hard, so just use your imagination. She had a very deep neck wound used from the use of a kitchen instrument, if you will. And they said that she spent about 2 days alive, and she had been deceased for upwards of 2 days. She was found in the creek, and right before that, a big storm had came through and let tons of rain come down, and thousands upon thousands of gallons of water had washed over her body. And there was virtually no DNA, virtually no anything. I think a few fibers were found. This was 96. Technology was there, but it's not what it is today. No one to this day has been arrested for that crime. They do suspect also that if not at the exact location where they found her, very, very close to that is where she was placed in the creek, because there was very little harm done, which would be that creek is full of rocks. It's not like a concrete culvert. It's a natural creek, twists and bends and everything else. There wasn't much damage from that type of element done to her. Upon her mother going and seeing her, I'm gonna walk over towards the grave now. I'm gonna flip the camera around and we'll end it right here. I'm still a good ways from it. I don't even like talking about this near a grave. We're gonna head over that way. I'm gonna end this video. We're gonna wrap it up, okay? I'll turn the camera around. This is the part of the story that absolutely breaks my heart. And I've tried to say it 3 times now and I can't get it out without breaking up. When her mother went to see her daughter, they told her, when you go in there, don't be hollering and yelling and causing a whole bunch of chaos and disturbing everybody. Now that really pisses me off. They knew what was laying in there. They knew the girl had passed away. They knew she was deceased. And to tell that grieving mother, anyways, on top of that, to compound it, and I happen to know where her grave is. I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's right at the mouth of this little fence area right here. I've seen it online. I'm still a pretty good ways away. They told her to not pick up her daughter because, think back to what I said about the injury she had. If she happened to pick her up by the body, that portion would fall off. And they tell her not to make any noise, to go in there, grab her hand. Strong woman. I can tell you right now, be trouble. So I know her grave is right in front of this. It's probably only a few feet from me. I bet it's that one with the yellow flyer right there. I have not been up here yet, but I'm almost positive that's it, and it is it. This is the grave of Amber Rene Hagerman. Since the start of the Amber Alert, there have literally been thousands and thousands of Amber Alerts issued. I did a lot of research. I found between 50 and 75% of Amber Alerts are deemed successful. There's a lot of matrix, things that go into what deems it successful, but upwards of 75% of the time the kids are returned to their family. That's a pretty high number. Was it worth the one kid being sacrificed? I think people would say yes. It's a hell of a way to have to make it happen. Anyways, I get wordy, folks. I say it all the time. We're gonna get off here. We're in Arlington, Texas, at the grave of Amber Hagerman, one of my bucket list items I've wanted to do. I've had this one pinned in my Google Maps for literally years. I wanted to come see this one. This story was so compelling to me. So much done, such an effect, used the right way. I never browse over Amber Alert. I always look at it and read it just because of the fact that I'm aware of the situation. I hope this video brings a little bit of awareness to what the story behind it is. If y'all would, if it's not too much trouble, go ahead and subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. Click like, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about this story. Maybe tell me about another story that I might want to do in the future. Something, you know, this year I'm going to put a whole bunch of money, whole bunch of effort into my channel. Try to grow my subscribers by quite a bit. With that, we're going to end it. I'm freezing, having trouble talking. See y'all in the next one. Bye. A little bit of bonus footage for y'all. I did not realize this was a children's area of the cemetery. Don't know why I didn't check that, but give y'all one more shot of Amber's grave. We're gonna walk over here. I'm gonna show you some of these. I hate seeing stuff like this, you know. This is the big memorial. If y'all come out and see Amber's grave, just look for this. We'll see y'all next time.